Da-do-da-do. Good morning, school. Welcome back to the School of Shred, the one and only. Happy Tuesday. You guys ready to learn a few things today? You ready to better your health and wellness? Me too. Today we're going to go over 3 things I wish I knew when I started. So as we go ahead and jump on here, comment where you're at, where you're located. Throw me a flex emoji in the comments. You know, we like to start our days off flexing a little bit of muscle. First thing that I want to get into here today is we have a September class going. So if you guys are interested in the School of Shred and becoming a student at the School of Shred for your first quarter of education and the curriculum that I've come up with your fellow classmates, I'm putting the link to the phone call that you can schedule with me, your free consultation call with me, a video call, and we'll talk about what the School of Shred is, how you can enroll and change your life over the next 90 days. That's going to be the first quarter of schooling. So we're launching that here in a couple weeks. So jump on that. If you guys want to learn more about the school, go to schoolshredpodcast.com and jump on the newsletter. Get some free info. All right, where are my people at? Where are my people at? There they are. What's going on, everybody? Comment where you guys are at, though, a flex emoji. We're going over 3 things I wish I knew when I had started here today. As I drink from the skull of my enemy. All right. For real, though, here we go. So there's 3 things I wish I knew when I started. I was kind of thinking about this episode, and I think this might help some people out there prioritize from the get-go. And we're going to make today's episode pretty quick. So let's get into it. The first thing that I would do, or that I wish I knew when I started, was about training volume. And number 1 is I would have trained with minimal volume and done full body 3 times a week. Number 2 is I would focus on gut health and managing inflammation. And number 3 is I would use supplements to complement, not compensate, nutrition. So let's get into what number 1's all about. So minimal volume. So when I first started, I was doing a lot of volume training. I remember I got Arnold's Encyclopedia Bodybuilding back here. And that was actually several years into me lifting. But I was reading like Muscular Development and a lot of the muscle magazines when I first started lifting. And a lot of those are that standard 3 sets of 12 to 15. You do 15 to 20 sets. You do chest day on Monday. You do back day on Tuesday. Leg days Wednesday. Shoulders was Thursday. And then bicep, tricep Fridays. And then you would take the weekend off. And I did that for quite a long time. Yeah, the good old days. I did that for quite a long time, and people call it the bro split now, but I used to spend so much time trying to figure out what the best split was. And so I was telling my girlfriend the other night, at one point I was doing a push day on, say, Monday, but I was doing 2-a-days. So I would do like chest in the morning, and then at night I would do another 45-minute lift, which would be like shoulders and triceps. And then Tuesday morning, before work, I would do back, and then the PM workout would be like rear delts and biceps. And then Wednesday would be legs, and then I would do a weak point training on Wednesday night. Super bodybuilder-esque. And the issue that I ran into with all of that is I was really overtraining myself. So I didn't know it then, but having sore joints and being inflamed, because I was new to this whole thing, having like sore knees or sore elbows, that's not normal. That's a check engine light. And what I didn't know is that I was doing programs of guys that were enhanced, because you don't really talk about that in mainstream magazines, is this how prevalent steroids are. Now, if it's a sport like bodybuilding, those guys are on drugs. They got to be to get to that level. Am I saying that they don't work hard? No, they work harder than any individual lifting weights humanly possible, but they're also taking stuff that allows them to recover at much faster rates than somebody who was like in my position, who's an everyday guy trying to gain muscle. And so I kind of had this happen for years before the light bulb finally hit. You get into the fitness industry long enough, you start to realize who's on steroids, who's not, and then I started to look into natural bodybuilding. And when I looked into natural bodybuilding about 4 or 5 years in to lift, it was probably 5 years into my lifting journey, I started to see that the programs those guys were doing was way different. You know, natural bodybuilding, they're doing like upper, lower, or maybe push, pull legs, but that's as split up as the routine gets. They don't do just chest day and do 20, 30 sets and then rest, you know, and some of those guys are doing full body. As I kept on looking back through history, I found a guy named Vince Gironda, who was an amazing bodybuilder, proponent of natural bodybuilding. And that's where I found out about organ meats and spiking cholesterol and all these cool things that he was doing before steroids were really prevalent in lifting. And he said that natural way is the only way. He was really big on that. And he had a great physique. This guy would do full body routines. And he's also the guy who came up with kind of the steak and eggs diet that you might have heard of. I mean, you just eat steak and eggs. It's delicious. But he actually did that. And that was part of his protocol. Whether that's good or bad, that's not what I'm getting into. But what I was starting to see was that these people back from like the 50s and 60s, they were doing full body. If you look at guys like Steve Reeves, and there's some other guys from the day like Vince Gironda and whatnot, those guys were doing full body. You know, they were doing big multi-joint movements, but they were doing full body several times a week. And then another thing I noticed with natural bodybuilding is they spent a lot of time recovering. And so I had to learn how to not train 2 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, because I brainwashed myself that was the way I had to train in the beginning of my fitness journey. And so, you know, over time, I had to start to break those down. Like, okay, I need to rest more. Maybe I could do cardio instead. So I'm still exercising, and I had a really hard time breaking that because if I wasn't working out on a day, I felt like I wasn't going to get better. And so what happened is I had brainwashed myself to thinking that I needed to do just massive amounts of volume all the time. The issue with that is if you're not getting specific with your volume and you're not understanding how your nervous system works and your recovery works, that's going to be detrimental. And it was detrimental to my orthopedic health. Looking back now, I'm like, yeah, it was really apparent that I was starting to develop issues. Now, luckily, I've never had, you know, issues and whatnot, but that doesn't mean I didn't start osteoarthritis. I mean, I could have crepitus and worn down contact surfaces in my knees now from squatting, doing 1 rep maxes every day for extended periods of time, or doing, you know, these 30 set leg workouts I used to do. I mean, I used to do like 20 to 30 sets per muscle group per day. I mean, it was insane because it was just more volume. And so if I could change anything, I wouldn't change anything because I learned from it. But what I wish I knew, if I was in your position, is I wish I knew that I needed to send a really hard, strong signal, the full body routine, and get a massive dump of cortisol and adrenaline during my workout, and then try to clear that signal as quickly as possible and focus on recovery and balancing the central nervous system. Okay, so for building muscle, if that was the goal, like my goal was to build muscle and to get lean and to create the body that I have now, what's worked well is that full body 3 days a week up to 5 days a week, depending on where I'm at in the program. And so the minimal volume thing, minimal effective dosage, how little can you get away with and gain muscle? And that way, when you adapt and your body gets used to that exposure to forces, then you pick it up just a little bit and you just keep nudging the needle. If you start off doing 30 set workouts, your body will get used to that at some point. And then you have to do 32 sets and then 35 sets and then 40 sets. And then pretty soon you're going to start to lose your wellness chasing this goal, and you're going to start to lose your joint health and all that with too much volume. And so if you can start off doing, 1 to 2 days a week and you get benefit from that, you start to gain muscle from that, you're losing weight or you're losing fat, then you can slowly nudge up to 3 days a week and then 4 and then 5. But minimal effective dosage, if you're not enhanced, is something that I wish I knew in the beginning. Number 2 is focus on gut health to manage inflammation. So one thing I wish I knew was a little bit more about gut health in the beginning of this thing. And so because gut health determines digestion, absorption, assimilation of nutrients in the foods that we eat, and it can also cause systemic inflammation. And inflammation is the beginning marker to every disease that we know of. It starts in the gut. The gut is your second brain. It communicates with your brain through digestion. If you have any issues, any leaky gut or anything like that, the healthy foods that you think you're eating could be causing an immune response and causing systemic inflammation. That's where your body's defensive in holding water. This is not conducive to muscle building, nor is it conducive to fat burn. And so if your gut is not healthy, you are not healthy. Everything starts with the gut. As far, in my opinion, I mean, the way that I like to help clients is that's typically where I'll start if I'm looking at nutritional stuff. Is like, how's the gut functioning? Many smart people talked about this. Rob Wolf's one of them. He's got a great book called Wired to Eat. Talks a lot about gut health and all that good stuff in there. Shameless plug is right now I'm giving out a free guide to gut health. So if you haven't joined the newsletter yet for the school, go ahead and go to schoolofshredpodcast.com and you can get my free guide to gut health. But legit, like, I would focus on gut health. I would try to limit the processed foods that were probably causing some gut irritation and, bringing in too much sugar and a lack of fiber to feed the gut microbiome. So I would focus on that, number 2. And the last one today is I would use supplements to complement my program, not compensate for my program. So everybody out there, if you have used an excessive amount of supplements in the past, raise your hand. Take a moment. Self-select. Yeah. So I used to spend up to $300 a month on supplements, exploring supplements. So, you do a energy thing in the morning with artificial sweeteners and whatnot, and then and colorings and all that. There we go. People are raising their hands now. You do a pre-workout, so more, and then you do an intro workout, maybe BCAAs, and then you do a post-workout where you have like maybe a carbohydrate protein and then a whey protein, and then maybe you're taking some supplements. You got fish oils, you got multivitamins, you got you got everything. So a lot of that stuff is not needed. And what happens is, instead of buy better food quality, hormone-free food, organic food, and put that back in your shopping cart, or hey, maybe invest that money in a savings account, I was spending a ton of money on supplements. And I did that for a long time when I wasn't seeing, because I got sold like everybody does with advertising. You're not seeing advertising for eating good organic lettuce. There's no advertising for that. There is right now, I'm telling you, but there's no advertising for that. There's no advertising to eat steak and to eat chicken and to select these good, like good pasture raised whole eggs and, grass-fed butter. There's no ads for that. But what is there ads for? Supplements all over the place. When I first started out, there was a lot of magazines. And so every magazine was basically just there to sell you supplements. It was just pictures of people to inspire you, to pull you in, to buy Hydroxycut, to buy whatever other supplement was out there, any kind of whey protein, any fat burners, all of that stuff. That's really what the magazines were. Now it's the internet. If you look up a protein powder, all of a sudden you're going to be getting targeted with all sorts of supplements now. And so what happens is we start to compensate the nutrition quality from the food we eat with supplements, as opposed to complement. And what I mean by complement is, now I take the basics. I take a really high grade fish oil and I take magnesium. And I'll take a few other things here and there. But I use that to complement my day. I want to get those good omega-3s in very high dosages. And so I take those at the end of the day. I take the magnesium to try and make sure that I'm good on that. But it's all to complement my nutrition plan. And a lot of times I don't take supplements anymore because I eat a lot of liver and organ meats, which have all of those in there. And so it's a different thought process. So that's the third one, is just use supplements to complement. Don't compensate. Take that money, put it back into your shopping cart. If you have the money to spend on a pre-workout, an intro workout, you don't need any of that stuff. You really don't. What is an intro workout? It's branched chain amino acids. Well, what's in eggs? What's in chicken? What's in steak? What's in all the stuff that you should already be eating? Branched chain amino acids. Like, there's nothing magical about supplements. They look cool. You feel like you're part of, it's like part of the community if you're sipping on a BCAA at the gym or something like that. But that's really what you're buying, you guys. If you're eating a good breakfast before, you don't need the supplements. All right. So just get the basics. You focus on fish oil, vitamin D, magnesium is a good one. Get the highest grade possible when you get supplements. Don't cut corners. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. If you're going to get a whey protein powder, get a really high grade pharmaceutical grade protein powder, one that's got a good track record. Try to limit sweeteners and all this stuff. And that's number 3 right there. So let me look over my notes real quick. Yep. So number 1, the 3 things I wish I knew to wrap this up is train with minimal volume, full body. I wouldn't train the bro split and do 30 sets per body part. That's I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, because anything's better than nothing, because I always try to keep things in perspective, but you're not going to find me ever doing that again. Most likely, unless there's some weird scenario where I need to. And then number 2 would focus on gut health. I would definitely focus on digestive health. Number 3 is use supplements to complement, not compensate. So that's episode 56 of the School of Shred. So we will be back tomorrow. We're here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And then these shows will also be available audio only. So you can take us on the go with the podcast app on iTunes as well as Spotify. So jump on and give the show a review on iTunes if you can. Helps the show grow organically. Go to schoolofshredpodcast.com to jump on the newsletter and click on the link that's going to be attached to this episode if you guys want to schedule a call and you're interested in joining the School of Shred with other fellow students with the same mission. With that, I want you guys to stay strong and healthy in body, stay relentless and energized in spirit, and stay determined in your pursuits, baby. Flex it up for me one more time, school. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until next time, class is dismissed.